so then he goes and goes down a hill, and he's going down the hill, he's got so much momentum going, he can't stop, and there's wolves down at the bottom of the hill, and so white wolves, and so then he climbs up a tree, is going to call 911 to say that there's wolves everywhere, and he looks down and they've turned into people. Is that it, Charles? Was there any more of that?
No, I mean, that's pretty much the dream right there.
Well, I mean,
He's got a wolf behind him.
yeah, I know he does. He's got a wolf behind him. But I mean, what Charles was saying, and I think it's I experienced this too, is that everyone he meets in the outer world are wolves to him. Now this comes right after that veil between him and the outer world, remember? And can you see me? I mean, in other words, he's veiled to the outer world. But the idea of everyone being wolves to him, I experienced that in my trying, and I think you've experienced, I think you mentioned things like this, Roy. After I graduated from the University of Iowa, I couldn't find a job for a long time because unemployment was so high, and I kind of graduated at an odd time anyway. It was just the fact that everywhere you go, you get rejections.
I remember that in the late 70s.
Yep. This is late 70s.
Couldn't get a job. I had to go to
70s.
the employment agency. Yeah.
Yeah, 77 to 79 and
Yeah.
that area. I mean, it was almost, I think it was close to double-digit unemployment and double-digit inflation at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
So it was but I mean, I did have the feeling that I was surrounded by wolves, Now, in this case, though, they're white wolves, So what does that mean? I mean, let's say they're wolves. Let's say these are people who are either, I think, probably more apathetic or unconcerned with our fate than actively trying to destroy us, but in this case, they're white. And then what does it mean that they change into people? Now, we kind of went over that, but what do you think, Charles, that it means when they turn into people?
That, I mean, they're not a threat, and that, I mean, I kind of think it means that they're people to begin with, and I just saw them as wolves.
Yeah, but you still are convinced that the people everyone in the outside world are like wolves to you. I mean, you feel that yourself. The dream is saying that if they are wolves, they're white wolves. And they're actually, what you think are wolfish people are actually human, have a human character. Hi, Gary. Nice to see you. Yeah. Anyway, Roy, do you have any comment about it now? Charles has two things. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're into hamsters, that's pretty scary stuff. Wolves. It's very chthonic. It's also white could be the contrast of the chthonic world, the spiritual, like contrast. It's kind of the dream does. And it's just another manifestation of the dark, of the chthonic aspect of the self, which he's working with now. It seems that appears in his dreams a lot, but that it was white wolves, I think is pretty hopeful, that there's something there that's sort of transforming, black into white.
Yeah, the two things that these are inconsistent with Charles' feeling. He literally feels that people in the outside world are wolfish. Do you really, what, could you describe that better than me, Charles? What your feeling about the outside world is, as far as, right, and what,
Well,
go ahead.
I behave in a way that is like someone, protecting themselves from a pack of wolves, and feeling that I need to protect myself, feeling that I am a prey animal, or have the likeness of a prey animal to people in the outer world. And that, I act as if people are just, not literally going to eat me, obviously, but take advantage of me, or use me for their own means, to to prey upon me in different ways.
Yeah, now that's your feeling of the people in the outer world.
It's not my feeling; it's my intuition.
Your intuition. But this is your conscious attitude. Okay. Are you saying that this is that what the ego perceives? It's nothing to do with this dream, right? I mean,
No,
let's leave the dream
this is
aside. What is your, yeah?
I only had that intuition after the dream. Yeah, and just kind of dream aside, I feel like, well, I don't really know. I just know that I'm kind of antisocial and reclusive, and I'm not really too great at, like, I don't have I'm not hopeful enough, and have the right sort of, I don't know, attitude or whatever in order to, like, build relationships with people. That's all I know.
Okay. Now you did not formulate this until you had the dream, though.
Right.
Yeah. So the dream told you something about your conscious attitude to the outer world. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay. So the dream is what it was describing, your approach to the your conscious attitude's approach to the outer world. And this is consistent with the dream before, where you have that veil between you and the world, So that's the commentary and with how you're interpreting it, yet we still haven't got over why they're white, why they're on the right, on the conscious side, and why I think it's also saying that you're treating the unconscious the same way. That you're treating even the unconscious contents as wolfish, because the ones on the left side at the bottom of the hill are not the ones on the right side, but they're also white wolves. And so you're seeing them as wolfish too. So you're seeing the inner and the outer world as wolfish. What do you think about? Is that true or not? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, look at the ET dreams, like, and they were all had a nightmarish quality to them, and those dreams were all about the objective psyche and the unconscious.
Mhm. So they're, yeah.
I mean, yeah, I mean, they're threatening in a way, because of their power.
Yeah, but let's just say that they were white wolves. Okay, now see, we had the wolves on the right, on the conscious side. We flee down to the left and down the hill, and for refuge. And yet down after a descent and a turn to the left, which is towards the unconscious, towards away from the outer attitude. It's like going into that tent and being inside the tent. There's the same aspect of the white wolf down there. We go up the tree and are going to report an emergency, but we look down and they are now have acquired, they are actually closer to, they are very close. They have differentiated as human. Now, Roy mentioned the hamsters. They moved from hamsters to wolves, but they were white wolves. And what I think it's saying is that's how we perceive them, but that's not who they are. We are perceiving them as wolves, but they're white wolves at the worst, and they're not really wolves at all. They have a wolf symbolism, but they're actually, if they're anything, they're shaman wolves. They're medicine wolves. They transformed into people. What do you think, Gary? You had some chance to reflect on this.
Question for you, Charles. You've got that drawing of a wolf behind you. Is that your drawing?
That is a poster that my nephew got. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious because I thought, I wonder if you would like sketch that, after the dream.
No, I wish. I would be very thankful to have skill like that. That'd be
Oh
cool.
my gosh, yeah. I mean, it's really good. So what strikes me about this is that, especially when you said, your kind of your realization and your intuition after the dream is that the hamsters were definitely prey. I mean, they might be fun, they might be interesting, they might be your friend, but they could never be threatening. Now, the wolf is completely different. I mean, it could be extremely threatening, and yet, certainly in a shamanic way, it could definitely be your friend. And this, the ascent of the tree, I mean, the tree is like, to me, always symbolizes, life and knowledge, and you going up the tree, even though it's because, you feel threatened, is like an ascent of awareness. And so the ascent of awareness is like, these have multiple aspects. And so, it could be, either like, it could be like a conscious attitude, like, or a unconscious attitude saying that that some of these aspects, which are not necessarily always friendly, like the hamster, are now becoming available to you, which would also, actually, back to the shamanism, give you the power to deal with people, because then you would be threatening in your own respect, your own realm. So it's, if everything is a threat, that's kind of impossible to deal with. But if we're also developing our own power and we see, the humanness in these things, which, can be threatening. I mean, they can be used for good, they can be used for bad. It's just power. Then that has a lot of possibilities. So if the dream indicate, and dreams can be, for the future as well. So, again, I kind of go back to like, no, it's, you see this power, but the ascent of the tree makes you realize that it has its human qualities and maybe brings it within your reach. So I think it has, a really positive quality in that it's showing you that, some of these things are just choices. It's not that these things have power over us. It's more that we have choices and we have our own power. I guess that would be my comment.
Yeah, you know what, the one thing I'm a little bit afraid of, until Charles, you establish some type of a degree of stability that is acceptable to you, that you're going to be suspicious of the outer world because of you're just going to be suspicious of it because it is threatening. I mean, we're not too far all the time from being out on the street or okay, here it is. There's a certain amount of insecurity, that is hanging over us. And until at some point that we can clear up that amount of insecurity amongst all our other problems, it's disorienting, I mean, that's, I think the real problem is that we just feel disoriented because there's a certain amount of insecurity right now. What do you think? Where are you right now? I mean, Charles, what are you thinking about on this level?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm still not that secure, but I think I just need to learn how to handle my money better. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I understand what you mean though.
Yeah.
I do have a sort of suspicion
Mhm.
in that regards, but yeah, and I guess not as much as I previously had.
Yeah, I think you're definitely improving. Roy, do you have any other thoughts about this? And then Charles, I don't know if that was the only dream you wanted to talk about, but that was the one.
I mean, I have a really short dream unless someone else has
Well,
something.
Yeah, well, let's hear if Roy has any final comments, but why don't we do it? We got a Gary dream, but go ahead.
Just one more comment. There's overinflation. I mean, there's inflation, and then there's the underinflation, low self-esteem, and they're the two ends of the spectrum. And Charles can't seem to get in the middle. And both of them are problems. I would say inflation is a bigger problem, but both of them are problems. So hopefully that gives him some orientation, what direction to try to get to. That's my final statement.
Yeah, I really think that there's just, and there's the inflation aspect, but which sometimes we find in the dreams because they are so profound. I mean, these dreams are incredibly profound. So there's a certain amount of inflation in the inner world because these are godlike dreams. There's an aspect of them that are godlike. But in the outer world, there is an aspect of depression, not inflation, which is the opposite of inflation, is a certain amount of depression. And a lot of it is just due to the practical, which is improving, we've been living somewhat, we've lacked some financial foundations, and we've lacked a, a certain amount of ego strength, you know. And I think that those are both improving, don't you think, Charles? I mean, aren't you having a little more steady income than you used to, or not?
Yeah, I'm going to work more consistently, that's for sure.
So do you have enough money to, I mean, are you see, what about all the money that you acquired while you were in Maine? Did you get a kind of a chunk?
Yeah, I mean, I got a decent amount of money. I bought some stuff since then. Loaned out my mom some money. But I mean, this Friday I could move out if I wanted to.
Great.
So yeah, I mean, not as
Yeah, well,
short
anyway, yeah, that's quite an improvement. And I think just my even though you might not feel it inside, my view of your appearance is that you have acquired a resilience. I mean, I see a little bit of a resilience there that I didn't see. I mean, that is, I really do think that's what we learned in Maine, is there's a resilience. Don't you feel that you can withstand the pressures of working, where before it was almost a little overwhelming? I mean, you're handling it
Yeah,
fine.
I wasn't really overwhelmed by work too much before. I just like didn't. It's like I couldn't care. I couldn't make myself care enough to get up out of bed in the morning and go, you know. And now I just kind of do it.
Yeah.
I don't have to.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've
Just do it.
there's a hurdle we overcame. But I would say, just to sum up, and let's do Gary's dream and then we'll come back to your dream, unless you have one, Roy, or Dawn, is this: we see wolves in the outer world. Yeah, they're wolves, but they're white. So that means either, I mean, the only thing I can think of is that means they're from the Arctic region, or that they have an aspect of them that is related to a celestial type of spiritual aspect to them. You know, so they're not ordinary wolves. You know, you find this a lot in your dreams, that they're not the common wolf. This is a different kind of wolf. Yet we see them as something we must flee from. And then when we flee and we go to the left and down, they're there too. Or at least we see them there. And we, like Gary said, we ascend a tree, and so to get to refuge. So we go down into the depths, we see the same wolves there that we saw in the upper realms. And so we, again, flee from them and say, there's wolves in the inner world, there's wolves in the outer world. Someone needs to help me. And then when we look down, they actually are not wolves. We're perceiving them as wolves, or they are shamanic wolves, one of the two. You know, that's their aspect. Usually a wolf, let's say your spirit animal is a wolf, you know, that has to do with their stealth, their cunning, their voraciousness, their you know, they're just I don't know, there's a lot to a wolf. I've got symbolic dictionaries all over here. I might look at them as I in a second here, and what the wolf means. But why don't we look at Gary's dream here, because it's pretty startling.
Yeah,
Gary's
you know, I
thing-
guess I've got one more thing I'd like to say about
Yes.
Charles Dream. And that is, you know, I think, you know, power is something that you can give away without even really thinking about it. And to have power, or to take power, kind of requires a certain type of consciousness. And I think it also requires being very grounded, very centered. And, and I guess, what I'd recommend to Charles, for getting more centered, more grounded is, doing physical things, whether it's, Tai Chi or yoga or just, running, you name it. But I think that, not only the types of, hormones that it will give you, but also just the, the belief in yourself, the confidence in yourself it gives you of setting up a routine where you're working on, centering would be, really valuable.
Yeah, you were going to do some kind of was it jujitsu or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's not in the best location. So I don't know. I want to move further to the city so that I'm closer to that and closer to my job. But
Yeah, and that
But-
might be coming in a couple weeks or a month, possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because if I had to go back into my youth, the one thing I would do is just what Gary was suggesting. I would be working out and training constantly, because this deal of being the decapitated head means I'm not going to take care of my body. I'm not going to run. I'm not going to eat right. I'm not going to exercise. And I think exercise, particularly of the trunk area, is a service to your spiritual attitude. It does produce endorphins and everything, but not taking care of the body, just saying the head just says, to hell with you, to your body. That's not a very respectful attitude. I mean, you need to, the body needs attention, hygienic attention, just like your brain does, just like the inner work of the brain. I think the inner work of the body needs to. But now here's the one thing I would say is if Charles, the aspect, Charles, that we're slightly disoriented right now, that only one who walks in your shoes can give you advice right now. So I mean, I could give you all kinds of advice. I mean, I was given it last time, that Eleanor Roosevelt said, don't worry what other people think about you, because you'd be surprised how they never do anyway. They never think about you, so don't worry about what they think about you. I guess my own attitude is everywhere I go, I just act like I own the place. I mean, what's the worst they can do? I mean, just I got that. I seriously got that because I became comfortable in my own skin, but it took me forever. I was absolutely at your age. That's all I could say is that I'm not comfortable in this guy. Something about him is just makes me. So anyway, I don't know what to say at this point, other than that the unconscious, I think, is saying, you think there's wolves on the outside, you think there's wolves on the inside. We're not wolves on the inside. Don't paint us with the same brush that you're painting the outer world with, which you seem to be doing, because we're not that, and to call an emergency. See, this is the other thing is, it's just saying there's an emergency and there's a sense of urgency. We think, the ego thinks there's a sense of urgency. The sense of urgency is not in the ego, it's in the inner world. That was what I was saying. Well, Gary, why don't you read your dream? unless somebody has other comment, because I'll show that one dream I had where they told me there was urgency in the inner world. But go ahead,
Sure.
Gary. This is we're going to be a hard dream. Not
Okay,
that
oh,
hard, but
yeah. So I
Yeah.
called this one the slave. I just had it, wow, the other night. So here goes. I'm a slave and currently shackled to a post. The master has decided to punish me for some transgression, and I know the punishment will be severe, such as a removal of a limb. I escape and I'm running through the streets. I turn down a street so as hopefully be out of the view of where I have run from. On my left is a primary school and its playground. One of the houses on my right seems to be a possible place of refuge. I run there and they let me in. Unfortunately, a few minutes later, my master comes running in with a cutting instrument. We wrestle for control and somehow I managed to get it away from him. I cut his forearm with it, although I'm not sure it was intentional or not. I'm so shocked I wake up.
okay. All right. Now this is you have a lot of dreams that are have a real, intense play acting role. I mean, the setting and the crisis is very unusual. But now I would say this is a shadow dream. This is about a shadow figure.
Yeah,
You know.
that sounds like a good start.
Yeah. Now we are in involuntary service to a dark figure. Okay. So that's what I'm saying, that somehow the shadow owns us, and so there's an aspect of whatever this shadow is. I have a lot of trouble trying to know who my shadow is, but it's apparent that the shadow owns us, and this shadow aspect is does not like what the ego is doing, and is going to perhaps it's going to dismember us. There's going to be some act of dismemberment. Now usually dismemberment means in logos world, it's going to commit a logos act on us. It's an act of discrimination, So it appears our shadow is an overly rational attitude. Okay, the shadow is this overly rational attitude, and through its powers of discrimination and differentiation, this over differentiating, over discriminating attitude, it is going to take our ego, which is straying away, perhaps, or the logos attitude is so powerful as its shadow aspect that it's not going to let ego out of its grip, and it's going to discriminate it and differentiate it, because we're trying to get away from that we're trying to escape this overly rational attitude, this overly logos attitude. We're trying to get out of it, but it's almost impossible. I mean, the box is too, it contains us. It's almost impossible to escape, Now, we do escape, though. And the dream extricates itself from this confinement in this logos hell. I would say, that the idea of the logos hell here is it's soulless. Okay, this soulless ego or logos rational hell of probably the thinking function, which is the dominant function, by the way. So we're trying to escape from the dominant function, and so we're really escaping thinking and going into feeling. That's where we're running to, really, I think. And but now we come to a fork in the road. On the left, on the side of unconscious, is the place of beginning again. It's really the place of rebirth, you know, the place of beginning again. It's this youth, the place of youth, the play of youth, and everything like that. Well, why don't we go that way? To me, I mean, that seems like, but we instead want to hide in a hovel in the conscious attitude on the right. So we go over there. So we're walking into a trap, you know. So we go over into his trap, the conscious attitude, and that's no refuge. He can find us immediately. And so we get there, and now you wrestle the this distortive discrimination that he has. You take it away from him and you cut him with it. And at that point, you wake up. So, I mean, this is a real wrestling with the shadow here, which is just absolutely gives me a little bit of, I mean, I'm experiencing just mildly right now that alarm that you had when you woke up. I can feel it. What do you think, Charles? Or Roy, do you want to go first? Whoever, ready? Go ahead, Charles.
It seems like, it's like a tyrannical, logos-oriented aspect of the personality that has, a lot of control, and you're sort of kind of putting the effort in to get to a vantage point where you can use its own weapon against him. So it's like you can using your or logos function to battle back against it's kind of like the positive logos rebelling against more negative manifestation of logos and trying to turn that more into the lighter aspect instead of the more malicious aspect of it. It's kind of like a turning of the tables of the rational discriminatory mode. So that's what I think about it.
Yeah, the idea, there's one aspect of the logos, which is the one of the scientific method. And there's the one on the other side is the one of the archetype of meaning, So it seems like that's who the shadow represents. What do you?
I was also going to say, I thought it was an interesting image of being chained to the post. It is kind of like being chained to a phallus, and
masculine attitude.
Yeah, it's like another negative manifestation of
chained to the masculine attitude. Yeah, that's great, Charles. As I say, you guys are. I mean, I think we're softening our way of looking at things, and it's really coming. The collaboration here is amazing. What do you think, Roy?
It's definitely serious shadow stuff. Bring in a little Donald Cowshed, the self-care system, the protector, persecutor. Well, this is the persecutor, and it always has guilt and shame associated with it. And it looks like its intent was to scare Gary, and it did. And they got some real effect from that. And that seemed to be the objective of the shadow. But what he's ashamed of, where this guilt is, what the protector, persecutor is preventing him from getting close to. We don't know. That's the mystery. That's the thing for Gary to explore.
The thing I'm thinking too, I'm just trying to say, where are we fleeing? I loved, that was great, Roy. And what Charles said too, but where Charles says the negative aspect of the logos, that would be this just this attitude of logic and causality. Okay, that is using logos and the thinking function, but it's not the purpose of logos. The purpose of logos is as a servant to the irrational, as the archetype of meaning. That's what its real role is, not to build atom bombs, but to interpret the symbol. That's the purpose of the logos. But when it gets in service, Marie-Louise von Franz says that rational materialism, she says, is the revenge of the logos archetype and the revenge of the eros or the mother archetype against using them only for the conscious attitude. If you are using the mother material, matter comes from mother, all you're worried about is soulless possession of objects, and then the rational one that just serves to do coding, and to do equations, and just soulless equations. That is using the body and the logos, but not in service to the feminine and to the irrational. So here, the shadow aspect of us seems like it has taken ascendancy. Now let's put it one other thing. Why is it in the form of a nightmare? In this extreme threat to ego. And the reason it is because the soul is experiencing pain from us not giving it the proper attention. And so when it experiences enough pain, it's had it, and it wants us to experience the same pain that it's feeling. That's what I forget who it was. It was like, I think it was Hillman that said that's the purpose of a nightmare, is for you to experience the pain that the soul is experiencing. So there is a nightmarish aspect to this, but it is a shadow dream. The shadow is a one whose weapon is the sword of discrimination. So that's his symbol. So it's his symbol of differentiating and dismembering is what logos does. It breaks down in orders, but sometimes it breaks down and then orders, but it also just can break down, Now, the ego is trying to get away from this. I mean, it's become the prisoner of the shadow, and that's have you experienced the shadow much, Gary? I haven't seen this shadow before.
I don't know. This dream was just startling. Like, actually, this is like this whole interpretation is just great, because I looked at it and I thought, I have no idea of what this is. So yeah, this is very helpful.
The ego is the shadow owns us. The ego is trying to escape ownership by the shadow. And yet it still is relying too much. See, The idea is that when you are fleeing the king, okay, you don't flee him on the royal road. He owns the royal road.
Mm,
The way you flee the king of the conscious attitude is you need to go into the land of children.
oh, which was actually there in the primary
Yeah.
school.
Yeah, that's the way to escape this overly adult, overly this shadow aspect of the adult realm, which is devoted to dismemberment and differentiation, not to serve the purpose of the soul, but for its own sake. Okay. And the way to escape it and to go into the feminine realm is to escape back into the realm of the child, and start over again there, have a rebirth, so that you don't, you've entered a new, another dimension, and you're going to start over a new history, a line of history, a different line of history, and that's the way to escape it. But instead, we turn to the right, which is we turn right back into his world,
Yeah, no trouble finding me.
Yeah, no trouble finding you. And then now, on the other hand, there is showing a lot of resistance on the part of the ego. The ego does not want to be owned by the shadow. The ego is trying to flee that realm. And the further scarring by this dismemberment of thinking and the thinking, sterile, soulless thinking function of the outer world. We don't want to be cut up anymore by it. We've been cut up enough, and so we try to flee it. I don't think we made a successful attempt, other than we have not. Ego is going to live to fight another day. It's all I can see.
But, I almost wonder if this isn't one of those things where you're refusing to see something, and so you get a nightmare instead of reasonable dream. And that's why the shadow takes such a negative
Yeah.
affect, and that's also why even though you escape, you find you haven't escaped at all. And that, and just the whole thing of of being dismembered. I mean, that's a really scary thing.
Yeah, I think now the idea, I mean, you should see my dream. Go ahead, Charles.
Oh, I was going to say, sorry, I kind of spaced out for a second, so I'm not sure if someone already said this, but I feel like the dismemberment, like cutting off a limb or something, kind of symbolizes disabling and removing ability, losing function. It's going to reduce your ability to function and
Function as
handicap
a soul being.
Yeah, inhibit you from from operating and having to have this handicap in the inner world. So
Less
yeah.
whole. You're going to be less whole.
Yeah. Makes me think of the Osiris Set and Isis myth, where Osiris gets cut up to a bunch of pieces and Isis has to reassemble them.
Yeah, and she reassembles everything but the phallus, the generating aspect. And then it is really interesting. She, he becomes part of a tree, and then goes to Lebanon, and the tree is so beautiful. The king of Lebanon puts it in his palace, and then Isis comes and pretends to be the servant of the queen's child, but the whole idea is to get her husband back, who's a tree, you know. But anyway, I would say that the idea here is, I don't know. I mean, the only thing is, at some point I'd like to send you, I just saw this letter that Jung wrote, this one guy who was having a dream problems, and he says that he just thinks that that there's something wrong with the handling of this guy's case. And he says that the fact that you have such an uncannily extensive material that one can hardly hope to cope with it. And I couldn't muster the amount of energy that would be required to deal with your dreams properly. In order to keep up with them, one would need at least 3 hours a week. As you know, the principle of my technique does not consist only in analysis and interpretation of such materials as are produced by the unconscious, but also in their synthesis by active imagination. He says, of the latter, I have seen nothing from you yet, but this is precisely the technique which seems to be indicated in your situation. You are not only informed enough, but also intelligent enough to go on for a long stretch on the assumption that I'm buried and there's no analyst for you under the changing moon except the one in your own heart. Now, isn't that interesting?
Mm.
The only analyst for you is the one in your own heart. As you will understand, this does not mean at all that you analyze and interpret your dreams according to any rule of thumb, but that you do what we call in the German language, and this is a very long word, the Auseinandersetzung mit den Unbewussten, which means the sit down and the coming to terms with the unconscious. It's a dialectical procedure you carry through with yourself with the aid of active imagination. This is the best means I know to reduce an inordinate production of the unconscious. It doesn't seem right that a man like yourself is still dependent on analysts. It says it's also not good for you because it produces again and again a most unwholesome disassociation of your opposites, namely pride and humility. You're proud and you're humble. It will be good for your humility if you can accept the gifts of the unconscious guide that dwells in yourself. It's good for your pride to humiliate itself to such an extent that you can accept what you receive. Now, he later, this isn't the letter, later he tells him how to do it. And he just tells him, I'll put that letter in the thing. He tells them that you must assume every figure in your dreams and everything exists, and have a conversation with them, which we've discussed a million times. But I mean, I would say the one thing, let me just say this. The active imagination that I just, started doing maybe a year and a half ago or so, it's finally starting to work, to have a little effect, little effects, and actually where the unconscious is letting me know it's there. I had one dream where she says, I am 88 years old and related to the Kore, which is the one who at the Eleusinian Mysteries holds up the shafts of wheat. She's 88. But I guess the whole thing is, when I did shaman seminars, there was something missing. I mean, these guys are just doing it for the kicks of it. That's what
the power.
Yeah, that's what Azine said. A lot of people were doing. They just, I saw an image, you know, and they start bragging about it, you know, and everything. Just tell what the image is. What does it mean? I don't know. You know, I mean, did it create a symbol? Not really, you know. And you know, now it's the same idea too, to some extent, with now I did Zen meditation for like 8 to 10 years. And what Zen meditation did for me primarily, now this is what Marie-Louise von Franz says, it takes you the first 500 feet, and Jung takes you the next 500 miles. Okay. Now, what Zen meditation did for me, and I can feel it right now in me, and I can feel it because of that Kundalini exercise we had. I have the still point in me, and I can access it at
Right.
any
Yeah.
time, you know. And so I don't really ever get scared or too nervous. And that was because just the constant ability to find that stone, you know, of Zen meditation. But there is nothing like what does he say? How does he call that? That it's the that he says he says there is no analyst for you under the changing moon except the one that is in your own heart, you know. And I'm convinced of this, you know. It's one thing to read Jung. Jung is only a supplement to doing active imagination. Now I'm going to just close with this, and then Charles, if you have, we'll talk a little bit more about Gary's dream. But to me, here's how I do active imagination anyway. I have to empty myself completely, and I do it through, you know, going with Inanna down through 7 gates until we've removed all persona. Then we come out into the unconscious, which is a valley filled with trees, with the horizon you can barely see the edge of the forest. And then I talk to the forest. I talk to Inanna. And I go down into it. I see the one who's the spirit of the trees. And then I go see the great mother. And I just embrace her and maybe ask her a question. Now, all of that was to set the stage to talk to the anima. Now I'm able to talk to the anima. So all that did was bring me down to the level where now I can talk to the soul. And when I see her, I just feel just absolute uncontrollable sense of mirth or joy or something. It's not really joy. It's sort of a shared joke or something, you know. And we're both smiling at each other because we're so happy to see each other, you know. But I don't know really what happens. You know, this is all visionary yet. The real power of this is to put it in writing, you know, and then read it later, which I haven't been too lazy to do. You know, I need to spend at least to add another half hour, which is going to be the automatic writing aspect. But anyway, is there any closing thoughts on this topic? Now let's just review it real quick. That we're under control of the shadow. He wants to cut us up even more into so we're less whole, more pieces just flying around, less functional in a soul world because we're cut up in the outer world, you know, and we are owned by this shadow who seems to be of the extreme rational attitude, you know. We try to flee him, but instead of going to this beautiful and just absolutely just my thinking about it gives me a great sense of of the soulful attitude of it, of the land of children. We don't go there. We go back into a little hovel on the right-hand side, and then we have to face him again, you know. So that was kind of what the dream is saying. But let's just hear some closing thoughts about it. And let me see if I can find that second letter he sends too. But
Well,
Charles,
you
did you
convinced
have-
me. I'm gonna try an active imagination with this and see where I can get. Because,
the shadow.
you know, I'm not sure what it relates to yet, you know, and so it's gonna take some work.
Yeah, ask the Great Mother or the Anima that what would have happened if I'd went into the playground, you know,
Yeah.
and something like that. Charles or Roy, do you have any final comments on it? Sorry, I just kept rambling on there.
Yeah, well, I just think it's a lot simpler approach. I mean, maybe you want the really long road, but it's just a lot simpler approach to say, the obvious, the shadow scared me. It was successful. It's scaring me. But what is it scaring me from?
Yeah.
And if you want to refer to the playground, well, that's where it happened, Gary. And all trauma is you get too much experience that you can't process. And that happens to all of us when we're kids. And if you can just figure out what is my shadow scaring me away from? What is it hiding from me that it doesn't trust me to handle, that I'm not big enough to handle? It's a lot
Right.
simpler approach, very direct.
That's very good. I'm probably gonna try both.
Yeah, I think you know that's one thing you have to keep in mind. I was told by my grandfather's cousin that Craig, you're up in the clouds. I have both feet on the ground. I tend to be a little on that side. Charles, did you have any final words on it or?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, that is, it was sort of scared me the first time I read it. You know, I sit there and think about it for a second. I was like you, Gary, says, how are we going to interpret this one? But
Oh, yeah, I mean, I was
Yeah.
totally lost. I had no idea what to do with it, so thank you.
well, do you have one, Charles, the one that you wanted to discuss then?
Yeah, unless Roy would like to share one.
Yeah.
No,
you have
go
one,
ahead,
Roy?
it's fine, go ahead.
Okay. All right.
Right,
Well, if you do-
so
Yeah, go ahead. I just say, if you
Um,
do have one, Roy, get it ready.
I'll email you one.
Okay, great. Go ahead, Charles.
well, I got a few here. And you know, they're all very recent. But I think, well, I'm gonna go with this one because it's the least obvious out of all of them. All right, so I'm with Dominique and his brother Trey, and we were living in Maine in some apartment. And I say, guys, let's just get out of here and go anywhere. And I mean literally anywhere in the United States. And we start to throw darts at a map. And I hope that I don't hit Mexico. First time I throw it, my dart hits the map and falls off. Then Dominique starts to throw some darts too. But next thing I know, I'm just at a neighborhood where my mom lives. Not where she actually lives, but in the dream. And it looks like it's out in the country. I find her house, and there's a bunch of mail made out to her on an address similar to hers, but not exactly hers. And that's on her doorstep. And I walk up to this screen door, and I can only very vaguely see her and I asked if I can come back into the house. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, this is got these two. It's a sharp transition one. So we always have to do from this that. Okay. Now, who is Dominique? That's a funny name.
That was a friend I had in middle school that I still talk to once in a while.
Was he ethnic at all, or?
Yeah, both of his parents are black.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
So like it's like
I know
are they?
his mom
it
is at
sounds,
least.
sounds almost like he might be from Haiti or something. You know, it's sort of a.
I know
French
that his ancestors are definitely from Africa.
Yeah. Well, he's from French Africa, you know, and his brother Trey, you're with them. So you're with, and you're in Maine. So you're up in this area of, which was a great area of transition. You know, we left, I mean, I always just see it as you went on a journey and on an adventure. So you left the home, you know, you left the place of you know, a prophet is never honored in his own country. You know, you left your own country on an adventure. So you went into the land of adventure. So Maine is the land of adventure. But for some reason, you don't, that's not adequate either. So then you say, let's get out of here. And I mean anywhere. Let's go out, get out of here. And I don't care where we go. Let's just throw a dart at the map. Okay, let's let chance decide where we go, you know. And you're really going to do it. You're hoping the dart doesn't hit Mexico because you know that's where you're going to go to. And yet chance does not seem to be cooperating. You know, when you throw the dart, it just falls off. So the dart is saying, no, we're not going to, this is in, see, in the land of adventure, the ego suddenly just says, to hell with it, let's go somewhere else. Let's consult the gods. And the gods say, we're not going to participate in this. This is all a willful act. And this willful act does not serve us. So your darts are just going to fall on the ground. Now, I don't know what Dominique was doing. You said he was throwing darts, but it didn't seem to bring about any resolution. But
Right.
Yours certainly didn't. Okay. So there's the idea of we're in the land of adventure. Whatever we were there for, we're going to abandon it and go somewhere else. And we want the unconscious to participate in the decision, and it's not cooperating. Okay. All right. That's the end of the first half of the dream. Okay. Now, then from this, that. Now, we are not with our real mother. We are with the maternal in a rural setting. And now this is very important, that the letters that are addressed to her are not the common address or something. The letters that are addressed to her have a slightly odd quality to them. You know, now why do they have that odd quality? Who is sending these letters? All of them, apparently. Were there lots of letters, and they all had
A little stack.
Okay. Now, were they consistent in the wrong address?
I believe
or were
so.
they all randomly? Okay, but they were. So you knew that they were being delivered to where the mother is living, but you're wondering how they got there, because it wasn't. This is not where she lives, but somehow they reached her anyway. Is that how you're interpreting it?
Kinda, yeah, but I think that it might just mean that she had moved.
They're being
And that-
forwarded.
Yeah, she just, or no, that like her, like she moved, but not that far. And it's like, that's just how the unconscious interprets it. That's what I think, but I don't know.
Oh, it's very meaningful. I think it's not a random thing, and I don't say we're going to solve it right this second. But the fact that the mother is now, let's just talk about the mother a little bit. Here's the other thing: the address is addressed to her, but it's not exactly her address. And then we don't, and we look through the screen. Now, can you describe that again? We can only vaguely see her through the screen. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so where are you?
I'm on her front porch.
You're on the front. What are you doing out there?
That's just where I showed up.
Okay, but
So the next thing I remember after throwing darts was walking
Okay,
down
there you
her
go.
road
Okay, so there
trying to
you
find
go.
her house.
Okay, so the unconscious is not participating in this. Let's just go anywhere thing. The unconscious puts you here in the mother realm. Okay, who we only vaguely see her. Her address is a little there's an obscure aspect to where we are, and we can only vaguely see her. This was the result of saying, let's get out of here and go anywhere with this couple. Your friends from when? Is it when? did you-
Middle school.
From middle school. Okay. And so we go into the maternal realm. Well, let's just, Roy, why don't you help us out here?
Okay. Well, this seems very typical Charles in my interpretation. It starts out good, he's in Maine, then it kind of starts going downhill. He has kind of a fantasy, they're going to go on an adventure, but it doesn't pan out. And then it kind of gets interesting because he's on his mom's porch. Now, the odd address on the mail and the screen door are very interesting because all of a sudden, instead of just going right back into the realm of the mothers, there's some obstacles there. You know, the address and the screen door. So he's just not dropping right back into the realm of the mothers. There's some things, obstacles being put up. So that's very interesting to me. I like that twist.
Seems to be a regression.
Maybe not when you see those
Yeah.
obstacles are being put up. It's
Yeah.
shifting his attitude a little bit. It's got him a
Yeah.
little mystified.
Yeah, it is. It doesn't seem like there's an easy drop back into the realm of the mothers, but we end up back there. But our connection with it is sort of like crawling back in a wet bathing suit. It's in a nature area. You know, we can only see her vaguely, and her address is obscure. You know, so to ego, the address of where she is obscure, and this is the result from just seemingly pulling the ripcord on the adventure to Maine. That the unconscious is saying, "Okay, you do that, you land back in the realm of the mother." You know, and but this is not you can't go back here. It's not you can't go back here now. I'm grasping for straws here, of course. What do you think, Gary?
So they begin by the willful, trying to choose where this will all begin. And there's various parts of him that are participating in that, but all the various parts do not succeed. So, but, you know, then the next part of the dream starts, and we don't know, you know, how this transposition has taken place, but it has. So it's unconscious, you know, it's that only the unconscious can do this. This isn't a conscious thing. And then, you know, he sees the familiar place. He goes there. And what's interesting is these letters are just sitting on the front porch. Why didn't the mother go out there and pick them up? Why would there be letters on the front porch? Not only that, they're slightly magical. And you know what this kind of reminded me of is in our last meeting on Sunday. You know, I think you said the word symbol. The original meaning of symbol was to throw. And, you know, that kind of came to mind because it's like, you know, letters, they are kind of thrown, you know, and yet they also have the other aspect. And, you know, like I almost, and yet he's barred from entry into, you know, into the place of the maternal instinct. And I wonder if the secret to this wasn't in the symbols, you know, it was like, you know, maybe if he'd picked up these letters and opened them, then the symbols would have, you know, given him, you know, the next stages of learning for how to access. So to me, it's almost like, you know, the door is the lock and the letters are the key, because he asks if he can come in, but, you know, apparently he is, you know, you weren't responded to in that, Charles. She didn't say yes or no.
No, I mean, that's like just where I remember the dream ending was just asking that question. And yeah, I didn't, you know, the dream just ended at that point.
So he's blocked from entry, and there's a feminine aspect inside, and there are all these rather magical letters sitting on the porch. I think they're a key. That's kind of where I'm at.
What do you think, Charles? I mean, I think the whole idea of it is there is a lack of resolution because of a possible willful act of short-circuiting a process that was occurring in the land of adventure. The will short-circuited a little bit, and there wasn't an ability to. There was no ability to have a transition because our darts would just keep falling off the board. So the transition says, fine, we will accept this decision, but initially you're just returning to the realm of the mothers, remember that? And really, there isn't admittance here anymore for you, you know. What do you think, Charles? I mean, it's sort of one of those dreams, a little bit lacking in resolution.
Yeah. I'm not exactly sure what to think about it. I just know that, like, I know, or I feel like it points something to the fact that, like, I can't really go back exactly where I came from, and that things are different now. But it did seem like it's saying something about, like, also like directionlessness. I'm just saying, oh, let's just go anywhere, just throw a dart at a map. No.
Yeah, your direction, not you, but there's an aspect. Remember too, I think there's a certain amount of willfulness participating here, but I think there's also a part of yourself that is the shadow is controlling you. I mean, there is an aspect that you, I think some of the decisions that are happening here are made by the unconscious too. And some of it, is, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure. But, I think, why don't we, finish this one next time? Because I want to write it down. I want to think about it. And and Charles, when did you have this dream, by the way?
20th of August.
20th of August. Okay. Well, now, again, this dream is informing us. So it's very helpful on our informing. And I think one thing, like you said, Charles, that you don't feel very hopeful, but sometimes, I mean, you should be more hopeful. You should have, how did you put it? Am I butchering it?
That like not very hopeful that like when it comes to people, so it's hard for me to build relationships because I don't really like trust them, and I don't see me being I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, does it seem like, well, all I'm saying is, I think you're making progress, even though you still feel like you're in a hole, you know, and you can't see above the hole. I think you're still making progress. So, you know, a certain amount of resilience and perseverance here. I think you will show resilience and perseverance. But let's discuss this dream. Let's look a little bit at Roy's dream, and then we'll start on both of them next time. I'm going to put it in the chat here, but we're not done, Charles, in any means with this dream, you know. And Gary's, we're not done with yours either. I don't think. I'd like to think about it. Go ahead, Roy. It's a very recent dream. I put it in the chat.
Yeah, on August 23rd. I am in an old part of Key West called Bahama Village. This is where the African Americans settled. They are excavating in an archaeological dig. Only the Bahamians are allowed to excavate in this dig. I had this scoop. It was ceramic and colored brown. There was this little orphan Bahamian child that wanted the scoop. I gave it to him. Then later I was going home trying to carry 2 boxes with a bicycle disassembled in each box. I saw my scoop. A Bahamian woman had it, and she was smoking and using the scoop as an ashtray. I asked about the little boy, and she smiled and said, yes, he is fine, and acknowledged it was his scoop.
Okay, this is sounds like one of my dreams lately, but let's go at her. Okay, now you're in Key West, so you're very close to the unconscious, this strange little earth that goes out into the Caribbean or the Gulf of Mexico. I don't know what would they call the waters off Key West?
Both. It's the Gulf and the Atlantic.
Yeah, the Gulf and Atlantic at both times. So Gulf on one side, Atlantic on the other. Okay, so anyway, Key West. It's just I always think. Did you like Key West? I mean,
Oh yeah, I've been going there since the 50s.
Yeah, I mean Ernest Hemingway's house, and I mean it just seems like if that was the life, and you know all those little nice little porches, and I mean I just love it.
For the United States, it has, you know, a really old history, you know, back to the 15th, 16th century.
Yeah, St. Augustine.
Lots of pirates.
Yeah.
When the pirates were capturing ships, and they're headquartering in Jamaica, Captain Morgan.
Yeah. And then, so now it's called Bahama Village. This is where the African Americans settled. Do you know when they settled there?
Probably in the 1700s.
Okay. And were they considered slaves at that time?
Oh yeah, they were all slaves.
Okay, and
Bridge.
so, yeah. Now, at that point, it was a Spanish territory though,
Mhm.
wasn't it?
Originally.
Yeah. Okay, now they are excavating an archaeological dig. Only the Bahamians are allowed to excavate. The Bahamians still live there?
Oh, yeah. It's being gentrified, but
Yeah.
they still have a major stake in that area.
Okay, now the Bahamians are the only one allowed to excavate in this dig. So they're looking back into settlements probably in the 1500s, which would be right after Columbus, or the 1600s, after all the great powers of Europe were carving up the American continent.
Cuba was sort of
French.
the headquarters back then, the capital.
Yeah, the French and the Spanish and Britain primarily, there is you had this scoop. It was ceramic and colored brown. Scoop is a shovel, isn't it? A small hand shovel.
Well, you kind of think of it, it's when they farms, when they feed the animals and they use
Oh, yeah,
scoops to
that's
get
what
the
we
grain
use.
out of the sacks and stuff like that. It
Right.
was like that.
Okay, yeah, it's just a
You could
scoop,
use it as a shovel.
yeah, but it typically is to scoop beans or
Right.
flour or
Yeah.
something out of a barrel.
It's not
And
used in dirt usually, but
Yeah.
it could be.
Yeah.
You could excavate with another tool and move your dirt into the scoop and then toss it out of the hole.
Okay, then now here comes the little orphaned Bahamian boy. So it's this little abandoned child wants the scoop. The scoop is this aspect that they want to, I guess, participate in the dig. It's to participate in the dig.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the child aspect here is going to participate in an exploration of the realm of the ancestors. And the dream ego gives the child a tool so that he can participate, Now, we give it to him. And then later you're going home trying to carry 2 boxes with a bicycle disassembled in each box. Okay. This is really interesting. You've got 4 wheels, and it's just 4 wheels and a bunch of parts. Is that how you would describe it?
Yeah, a very
Yeah.
awkward thing to try
Yeah.
to carry.
Yeah. Okay. And then you see your scoop. The feminine, the anima has it, and she's smoking. This is beautiful. This is a beautiful image. I just see it in my head. She's smoking, and she's using the scoop as an ashtray. This thing to help this orphan child explore the ancestral realm of where he came from, and the anima is just using it for ashes. So ashes from her smoking, which must mean something. And you ask about the little child. She said, yes, he's fine, and she acknowledged it was his scoop. So there's a lot here, and we'll have to keep going at it next time. But let's hear what Roy and Gary and Charles have anything to say. Dawn, by the way, you always if you have anything, just put it in the chat. Go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, I'm just going to comment on one part of it. I mean, because this is pretty tough. But so but the anima smoking. So we need to remember that tobacco, and especially like in the South American cultures, was actually considered you know, to be a very like spiritual thing and way of like, you know, giving, you know, it was almost like giving alms to the gods.
Yeah.
And so the ashes, I'm actually going to take and look at this as, you know, a positive thing, because this is, you know, the only earthly remains of the other part that ascends to the heavens.
Yeah. Yeah, it's what, yeah, part of it goes to heaven, and then the ash, which can't no longer be burned, it's the prima materia. The prima materia is what's going into the ashes, is a very powerful image in alchemy. But I would say, even though all these images are very foreign to Roy's persona, that they are Roy's inner world. All these aspects are Roy in different forms. So even though they seem foreign to ego, they I think they're well. Let's hear what Charles says, and then let Gary, I mean Roy, give us some more clues. Go ahead, Charles.
I mean, I don't really have anything to say about it yet.
Okay, well, we'll really go over it Wednesday exhaustively. Roy, do you have any more clues to give us about this for next time?
Oh, sort of what I get out of it is it just had so much soul in it. You know, the Bahama Village, the orphan kid, the black woman, and just full of soul. And here I am, the white man's burden, you know, wheels, damn wheels, white man's burden, and I'm lugging. At least I had something that I could participate in this with. It just felt like I was just exposed to the world of soul, but I was sort of outside of it. I had the white man's burden to go on with.
Well, I would say one thing, though, this is that a lot of your images have been just strictly animal, you know, nature animals, and they're very soulful too, but with a very different aspect, a little more elemental. Now we have, it's more human, but it's still very close to nature, you know. So I mean, it's sort of this halfway between the realm of the animals and the realm of your everyday civilization. It's sort of this middle place, and it's very soulful. But I just think a lot of your dreams are expressing that they're anchored in the soul realms. So anyway, let's go at this one, and I will type up Charles' dream and send it out. And I want to just, maybe I can quick read this, just one paragraph. There were 3 letters here, and Jung got increasingly angry with this guy because he didn't know what to do. But he says, any mental picture you contemplate in this, well, he says just, well, I'll send it. I'm going to email it.
Hey, what letter is that? What page is that?
Okay, let me tell you, it's in the second, I think it's the first volume.
You got the page number? I
Yeah,
got the volumes.
Okay, just a second. All right, here, I got it right here. All right, let's see here. Oh, okay, just a second. Damn it, I blew up on me. Put it in here again. Just a second. LAT. ER. Okay, I just had. Well, it's from 1947. It is in May. It's to Mr. O. There's 3 letters in a row, and I think it's right after May 1947. I just lost.
Oh, that's a good May 1947. I can find it from that.
Yeah, because my PDF just
It's
blew
chronological the way they're.
Yeah. So you'll find a letter to Mr. O, and then you'll find 2 letters.
I can get it.
They're within
get
5
to it.
pages. Okay, well, we'll see you guys on Wednesday. Thank you, Gary, for that dream. And let's talk a little bit about it next time too. And thanks, Charles. And Dawn, thank you. Dawn, please try to send us a dream too. Would love, we need one. Okay. All right. Well, thanks everybody. We'll see you next Wednesday. Appreciate
See ya.
it. Okay. Bye, Charles, Dawn.